Melissa Megan Show continues. Carney to Tyrell.
Welcome to the Meg Show.
Season 1 coming soon.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Meg Show, episode 8, and we're heading in to tournament play. This past weekend, we saw two of what have been considered the most formidable conferences over the past decade, more than that maybe.
Sure.
We saw them come out with two newly crowned champions, at least in the ACC.
And she's referring to the ACC tournament and the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
That happened this past weekend, in case they didn't know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, fine. Oh, gosh. Anyways, this past weekend, we'll start off strong with the ACC. There's no bias in that at all. It's just first in the alphabet. So that's how we're going to do it. The 2025 ACC Women's Lacrosse Tournament happened this past weekend down in Charlotte, North Carolina at the American Legion Memorial Stadium. I'm personally not a fan of that stadium.
Yeah, it was fine. I noticed this year they had the teams on the opposite side.
I noticed
I don't know
that
if
too.
they had that last year, but it was definitely different than our year.
Yeah, I think it was, but I don't like the actual turf that's there, if that makes sense. However, that did not seem to slow anybody down, really, especially not UNC and or BC. If we look in these first round of games here, UNC played Virginia Tech 19-9. UNC comes out on top. That, I think, was probably an expected game. As far as score-wise goes. Yeah, for Virginia Tech, potentially their last game. Very sad to see. Sorry, Evan, but it was a game well fought. 19-9, UNC moves on. Another game that we had on our radar was Clemson-Duke. I kind of thought this one would be a little bit closer.
I know, same, actually.
Yeah, so the score of this game was 15-7, Clemson on top. Meg and I were both wrong.
Yeah, we were.
We both thought Duke was going to pull it out, but Clemson came out with something and doubled Duke. So
yeah,
that's a fair game by them. BC played UVA. They won 17-7. I kind of thought that game might have been a little bit closer, but I feel like the scores kind of make a little bit of sense.
BC was going to win, but not necessarily by 10.
Yeah, that one was a little bit of kind of a shocker there. And then this last game was the last game of the day, which was a very long day.
Yeah, that game was so late.
8 p.m. game. I'm in bed, but
I stayed up and watched the whole thing, and I was like, can this end, please? Watching sixes was way better than watching women's lacrosse.
It is faster. You were right.
So much quicker games. You're in and out. These games take forever.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about, well, even like if you just think about the whole day, like UNC VT, that game was at 11 a.m. And then the last game was at 8 p.m. It doesn't really end until like 10. That's like...
Imagine being Jay, Alter, Charlotte, and Sheehan.
Yeah, shout out them.
Broadcasting announcing each of those games that day.
It's a long
one
day.
After another.
Of good lacrosse, though. So you don't really...
Yeah.
You get to talk about fun things that happen. Which
just flies by, but that is a long day.
No, it's a long day. But yeah, last game of the evening was Stanford and Cuse. Stanford came out on top this game. 15-10 was the final. But if you look at this from the actual game perspective...
It was, so if you guys don't remember, regular season, Cuse beat Stanford in double overtime. So we knew it was going to be a good game. It's a good matchup. This is also Stanford's first season in the ACC tournament, or in the ACC, first ACC tournament. So I was hoping for a closer game. It ended up being 15-10. Syracuse lost. Syracuse had the lead going into half, an 8-5. So they're up 3 goals. They've got a pretty good lead going into halftime. They're feeling good. They're putting the ball away. Stanford had 5 goals in both the third and fourth quarter. So they had a 10-goal second half, and Syracuse had a 2-goal second half. They put up 1 goal in each quarter, which is not okay. That's not how you're going to win. So that was definitely tough to watch. They just couldn't figure it out on offense in the second half. They just couldn't get it going. Kind of sloppy, a little chaotic, just turnovers, missed errors, interceptions, just being themselves. Like they shouldn't have lost that game. But great job Stanford adjusting in game and being able to come out on top, especially a 5-goal lead. But yeah, Emma Ward set the assist record. She recorded her 165th career assist in that game. And then that, like I mentioned, was Stanford's first ever ACC postseason tournament win. But yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, shout out Wardo. So happy for you. So proud of you. So fantastic. Not surprising at all. This girl has lasers on her stick.
Yeah.
No, but for Stanford to win first ever ACC postseason tournament win, I have to agree with you on like the in-game adjustment. I'm just thinking about that as you're saying it. The way that they adjusted after Cuse went up 8-5 was one of the keys that helped them kind of pick up momentum and just run with it in the second half, where Cuse came out of half and they had a tough coming out of halftime shooting. I want to say at some point it was kind of like they were 0 for 6 on their shots, which is like, okay, let's all take a breather, reel it back in. But that kind of was a little bit of a nip in the butt for them, I think, where Stanford took all of those like missed opportunities or turnovers and kind of just ran with it that way. But yeah, I was kind of saying it was like Stanford's in-game adjustments, yes, but also a little bit of Hughes kind of beating on themselves a bit.
Yeah, looking at the box score, just for a frame of reference, so shots, Stanford had 24 shots, Syracuse had 28, so pretty close. Shots on goal, Stanford had 18, Syracuse had 19. However, saves, Stanford had 9 saves and Syracuse only had 3. Syracuse had 22 turnovers. But every other category, draw controls, we won by 8. We won that 18-10. But I mean, for both teams, like free position shots, Stanford went 3 for 6. We went 3 for 7.
Tough day on the 8-meter.
Yeah, tough day on the 8-meter. Not many saves, a lot of turnovers, but won the draw control. So they just couldn't get it going.
Just wasn't the day for the Cuse. But we take that and we go into a very exciting second round of games. We have North Carolina was lined up with Clemson. The score of that game was 17-7. Not very surprised by that score. How do you feel?
Yeah,
I feel like that's about accurate. This North Carolina offense,
they're so good and they're so young.
I know, which is so awesome. But I have so many great things to say about them. But they're getting to a point where they're hitting like a stride, like a peak, where things are kind of really clicking and flowing more consistently, and I'll knock on wood for that. But they're just playing really, really well in this kind of end of season, heading into ACC play. Obviously, they did end up winning. But yeah, no, 17-7, that makes sense. This Clemson team, this Clemson program is good, and they are going to be even better. What did I say? 2027, 2028?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I made a prediction.
And don't forget, like, they're a new program. They're pretty new.
Exactly.
Like they're still new to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're figuring it out.
Yeah. And then the other game that was played was Boston College versus Stanford. BC wins 16-9. Also have great things to say about BC's offense as well. I think this game probably ended in the right scoring reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially with, Shea Dolce holding Stanford offense to under 10. That kind of makes sense. BC with Rachel Clark, Lopinto, McKenna David. Like
watching the first round games, it's like watching the Syracuse Stanford game, you're just like, okay, whoever wins, like, unfortunately, they're going to get rolled by BC. Whether it was Syracuse, it was Stanford, whoever it was, like, BC is just so dominant and so good and, like, that far ahead of the other teams. As same with North Carolina. Like, whoever were to win out of that Clemson
kind of pool.
The UNC Clemson or the Clemson Duke game, like whoever UNC was going to play, they're going to roll them. Like those teams are just so far ahead.
Yeah, and then we see another matchup that we saw very recently between UNC and BC. Last was in Chapel Hill, UNC's home turf. This time they're still in North Carolina, just
down the street, as we know from
street.
last episode. They bus.
Down the street. UNC-BC, another fantastic watch. If you didn't even watch it, actually, you should go back and watch it on ESPN because it was really good. 14-12, UNC comes out on top. They are crowned ACC champions. They were crowned in the regular season, and they got it during tournament time as well. They are the first automatic bid into the NCAA tournament. This game,
this game was good. Like looking at how the quarters broke out, it was 5-5 after the first quarter, and then after the second quarter going into halftime, it was 7-7. And then the second half, the third quarter, BC had 2 goals, UNC had 1. So then BC's up 9-8, and then the fourth quarter was huge for UNC. They had 6 goals to BC's 3 goals, which ended up putting them on top 14-12. But the game itself was very good. It's just 2 very competitive, very skilled teams all across the field. Transition, draws, goalies, defense, attack. I mean, you have Rachel Clark, who is so good at dodging. You have Emma Pinto, who can sort of sneak and tear apart a defense. But then you also have the Humphrey sisters, who were at majority of the game both being face guarded. So then you're playing 5v5, which is super easy. Like, I don't know, watching the game when BC was shutting Ashley and Chloe, they're then playing 5v5 on offense on a whole half of the field. Like, that is so much room as an attacker. No, you don't have to worry about a slide. You just got to beat your girl, get your hands free, and take a shot because there's no one around you. It's like, at what point do you come out of that double face guard and just try and play them normal and straight up?
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like going into the double face guard that aggressively is slightly out of character for BC's defense, just kind of historically.
Especially against a team with such great dodgers.
Yeah, obviously, try everything now because they're going to make the postseason no matter what. So you might as well just throw what you can out there and see what sticks, kind of. But, I think taking out both the Humphrey sisters is smart, or at least one of them, because the way they work together it's a thing of beauty to watch.
It's insane watching them. And they look like they have so much fun, and it just looks great. But yeah, I mean, Ashley was pretty much consistently shut the whole game. Chloe, they were sort of in and out, but
I think Ashley has a little bit more of a feeder kind of IQ. Not that Chloe doesn't have it, but Ashley is I think more apparent, so that would make more sense in my head. But and then Kate Levy's goal going coast to coast was pretty sick.
It was insane.
That was actually really cool. Very cool.
It was such a great game to watch. And then at the end, the clip that is all over social media of Chloe totally, I think UNC was killing 38 seconds. That's all that was left. They're up by 2 goals. So if they turned it over, it's not the end of the world, but they're just running out the clock and trying to end the game. And Chloe gets it. And at this point, there's probably 20 seconds left and is on top of the crease and just throws about 5 fakes to Shea Dolce and just completely fakes her out and then doesn't shoot. Just gotcha. Runs around and then takes the backhanded shovel shot and scores.
Yeah, so I think that was
crazy town. I was watching that game and I was like, that did not just happen.
Yeah, it was almost one of those okay, I think I'm going to do something, never mind kind of moments. Or if we want to look at it a different way, that was very smart team IQ wise to not take that shot and let the clock run even more time off so you can kind of keep that lead. Because I don't know what their draw stats were looking like, but in a sense where maybe it's the end of the game, you're up by 1, clock's running out, but maybe you're not having the best day on the draw, you kind of want to hold on to that possession for as long as you can so you don't have to go back to the draw circle.
Yeah. I don't know. Or was she I'm just going to go mess with her and I'm not going to, I'm just going to go throw some fakes. I don't know. That my jaw was on the floor.
Yeah, Chloe, let us know because we're curious what you were thinking at that time. But as
it reminds me of when we were in the Final Four and BC was destroying us and Charlotte scored the goal to set the record. And I was just like, really?
When was this?
When I was hurt, so our junior year at Towson.
Oh, in the national championship game?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that happened in the national championship game. Wow. That's kind of picture book.
Yeah.
But yeah, UNC goes on to win 8th ACC title, first since 2022, and Chloe Humphrey was named ACC Tournament MVP, which is kind of huge for
sophomore, redshirt freshman.
Redshirt freshman, yeah. Yeah.
Which I didn't realize. I thought she was a true freshman. I didn't realize she was a redshirt.
She got hurt last year.
I feel like that last year was very quiet for like how many girls they had injured. I feel like it was very quiet on like who was injured, what their injury was, and just like UNC sort of had like an off year, but it was very quiet. Like no one really spoke about it.
Yeah, it was kind of under wraps.
Like I had to like dig through Google to see what her injury was, and it was just like she was in a boot or something. I had no idea.
Yeah, I don't know, but now they're back and they are literally not skipping a beat. Beating Boston College twice at the end of the season in postseason. BC is a really hard team to play, as we said before, in postseason. They're the reigning national champions and ACC champions. So those are big wins for UNC right now.
Shea hadn't lost in that stadium in American Legion.
Is she a senior now?
No.
Junior?
Junior, I think.
Yeah. Wow. Well, unfortunately, there was a first time for everything. Yeah, so UNC, they go on to be the ACC champions, secure their spot in the NCAA tournament, and we move on to the next tournament that was played and completed this past weekend was the Big Ten. As I said before, arguably the second most formidable tournament conference in the NCAA, Division I women's lacrosse.
Yeah, I didn't really get to watch much of that. The Big Ten live stream is painful to watch. Just does not compare to ACC.
No, I mean, for the first round of games, they were played on Wednesday. We had Hopkins was playing Penn State, Michigan played Rutgers, and Maryland played Rutgers, and Michigan played USC. Sorry, long day. Hopkins beat Penn State 13-8. That makes sense to me. I kind of thought that game might have been a little bit closer just based on the last time they played each other, which was also recently, kind of towards the end of their season. The game was, what was that, a 1-goal game or something?
Yeah.
It was close.
It was in overtime.
Overtime, right. So, yeah, Hopkins coming out making a statement, beating Penn State 13-8. Maryland beat Rutgers 17-11. I think that's fair. The 2 seed playing the 7 seed. That kind of makes sense. And then Michigan beat USC 20-9. I was right. Meg was wrong.
Yes.
But we were both right about Hopkins, Penn State. So that was kind of a good weekend for us as far as pick goes. And we also had Army Colgate as well, which we'll speak of.
Oh, yeah.
On Friday, we had Northwestern coming back in after their bye game. Northwestern played Johns Hopkins and shocked. I was shocked. The score of this game was 16-15, which I don't know why I'm shocked because Hopkins is dangerous, and we've been saying it all season.
is sneaky good, but the one thing about them is they're so good at in-game adjustments. And I'll keep saying this, but Tim McCormick obviously knows what he's doing. Like that sounds dumb to say, but like he
knows what
he can adjust in game, and they can figure it out, and they can move pieces around and do different things and stay in a game.
Yeah. So 16-15 Northwestern wins. We had freshmen actually. Oh, sorry, that's from Maryland. Scope that. Sorry, I mixed it up, guys. For the Hopkins Northwestern game, it really kind of came down to the first quarter and the third quarter. Northwestern just putting up one more goal than Hopkins did. So in the first quarter, Hopkins put up 2, Northwestern put up 1. In the third, Hopkins put up 5, Northwestern put up 6. So it kind of balanced out that way a little bit. And for Northwestern, it was Nikki Miles, the transfer this season. She came in, she had 5 goals on the day, which really kind of pushed Northwestern's offense, their momentum. And obviously, another familiar name, Madison Taylor, she put up 4 goals this game as well as a bunch of other offensive threats. They had 1 or 2 points for themselves as well. For Hopkins, it was also the usual Ava Angelo. She put up 3. A couple other players had 1 or 2, but it kind of wasn't enough for Hopkins to kind of get over this hump that is this formidable Northwestern team, really. A name that we did not see on the scoreboard that we've been seeing was Ashley Mackin.
Hurt.
Unfortunately.
Thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's really...
I don't know either.
What's really going on there, but I'm thinking of her, and I think, Hopkins was missing her as well. But strong showing from this Hopkins team. This Northwestern offense, their defense, they're a very well put together team. You competed with them, you're right there with them. I would love to see these 2 teams face off again, but if I was Northwestern, I don't know if I'd want to play them again. For second game of that evening, Maryland played Michigan. Final score of that one was 13-10. Again, I think it's a 2 versus 3 seed, so it was a little bit closer of contenders, but I do think Maryland was obviously the more dominant team in that game. And then for them, it's kind of the usual suspects as well. Jordan Lipkin, she had 4 goals. Corey Edmondson had 3 to kind of push, as well as Lauren LaPointe. She had 3 as well. And then for Michigan, Kaylee Dyer, she had 3. Julia Schwab had 3. Jill Smith had 2. And it kind of just wasn't enough for Michigan. Maryland had 5 goals in the second and then 4 in the third. So they finished the first half strong, had a strong start to their second half, and was able to kind of push that, even though they only had 1 goal in the fourth, which, as we've said all season, it's kind of a scarier thing to see when you're only putting up 1 in the fourth. But they had a good enough first 3 quarters where that could hold them over. They end up winning by 3. And then they progressed to Championship Sunday, where Northwestern played Maryland. 1 seed played 2. And this game was... I didn't think it was going to be a 1-goal game.
Me either.
I did not think it was going to be a 1-goal game. But it was. And a lot of that, for Maryland at least, is a shout out to Corey Edmondson, I'd say.
Yeah. She, had 4 goals?
Mm-hmm. She kind of led the path there. She had 4 goals. Shelby Sullivan had 1. Lauren LaPointe had 1. And Kaylee Gilmore had 1 as well. Low scoring game for both of these teams compared to what they've been the numbers they've been putting up all season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even for Northwestern, they're used to having, at least 5 players having 2 to 3 points, I would say, per game.
Yeah.
This game, Madison Taylor had 2, Nikki Miles had 2. So this was the freshman, Foster. She had the game winner for Northwestern. You've probably seen the highlight of her low on the crease, finishing huge celebration. And then 2 others had 1 as well. But kind of an unusual day in the office for both of these teams. I'm kind of curious what factored into that. I mean, and also if we're looking at the shots, Northwestern took 41. What factored into it? JJ Suriani. That's who factored into it. Northwestern took
out of her mind.
Northwestern took 41 shots. And if you look at this team's shooting percentage just over the season, the fact that
41 shots is nuts.
The fact that Northwestern only put in 8 is absolute insanity. Yeah. JJ stood on her absolute head this game. This is just, these numbers are insane. Insane. Yeah, Maryland 18 saves compared to Northwestern 7. Turnovers were pretty equal, but Northwestern kind of led the majority of the other categories. A weird one we see from Northwestern, which I guess is a shout out to the defense and JJ Suriani. Northwestern went 0 for 9 on the free position line, which I feel like, again, is a little bit weird.
Character.
A little bit weird.
Maybe, I mean, it's probably that Maryland terrible turf they're playing on.
The field hockey field?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe. But Northwestern comes out on top that game. Their 5th overall Big Ten tournament title and 3rd consecutive, which...
Linky's getting a ring.
I know. Congrats, Del.
So jealous.
That's so nice. So with that,
cool.
I know I'm curious what it's gonna look like. With that win, they are now Big Ten champs. They have their automatic bid into the tournament. Those two are the only ones that completed their tournaments or kind of started them last week. This week there are still 13 more automatic bids. So guys, that's a lot more lacrosse that we have to be played.
So much. We have Big 12 coming up. And then that semifinal is May 1st. And then the championship game is on May 3rd. And then we also have Ivy League, which is at Princeton. Princeton plays Brown on May 2nd and Yale plays Penn. And then championship game is May 4th. Few other conferences that need to wrap up. Like Meg said, there's 15 total. We have ACC and Big 10, so that leaves us 13 left. You've got Ivy, MAC, Big 12, Patriot League, the CAA, Big East, AAC, American East. Got a handful of them. So that's like your Floridas, your Stony Brook, Loyola, bunch of those teams that are in the top of the ranking but still need to finish out tournament play. Yeah, so as we were mentioning, so selection show Sunday is May 4th, my birthday. So that is this coming Sunday.
Make sure you say happy birthday or else you're banned from the podcast.
You're blocked. You now have to pay to listen to this.
Viewership 0.
Yeah. Our 2 views went down. Yeah, so selection show Sunday. We'll have 15 of the 29 teams will be all of the automatic qualifiers, which are the teams that win their conference. So you win your conference, you're automatically in the tournament, no matter what. Even if you're the 30th ranked team, if you win your conference, you're in the tournament. So that leaves us with, do some math, about 14 other teams left to be selected. And that's going to be teams like Syracuse. They might be on the fence. Are they in or out? It'll be very fun to see who is selected, who's in, who's out, who doesn't make the cut. But the committee has a whole criteria that they have to go through, and that's how they select the teams. The tournament is single elimination for those that aren't aware. The top 8 teams in the 2019 bracket for the championship are seeded. The top 3 receive first round byes. So whoever, probably UNC, Northwestern, and BC, I'm going to assume, will get a first round bye. But we'll see. Who knows what the committee's going to do. But yeah, so the criteria, according to the NCAA, they have a whole shebang of things. Win-loss record, strength of schedule, and then eligibility of student athletes for NCAA championships. I don't really know if that's playing into a factor here.
Probably barely.
I think that's
probably close to nothing.
I think that's like Lemoyne, how they can't compete since they're new to Division I or something, like they can't compete in postseason for men. Sorry. But yeah, RPI, win-loss record, head-to-head competition, results versus common opponent, significant win and losses, evaluation of the 10 highest-rated teams, and then, strength of schedule and winning percentage.
Yes, they've got a lot to think about as
and then they put this
together.
Which I didn't know about this. I don't know if you did, Meg, but I was reading about it today. So then that's all like primary criteria. And then secondary criteria is basically if the primary criteria does not result in a decision, then the secondary criteria will be reviewed, which is late season performance. So last 6 games, including conference tournaments, winning percentage, and strength of schedule, which is super interesting because like you can go in a conference play and do really well, or like Syracuse, you can lose first round. Results against teams already selected, which would be the automatic qualifiers, and then non-conference RPI.
I'm a big I'm a big believer in the non-conference RPI, but
Yeah, same.
I think that might just be, well, for us at least, we played a very hard schedule every year. But in the end of the day, it just makes you better, in my opinion. But I think that's a really important secondary piece that we see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think as far as like the other stuff goes, that makes sense.
Yeah. So selection shows this Sunday, May 4th. First round of the tournament is May 9th. Second round is May 11th. Quarterfinals May 15th, which is the Final Four, and that will be at Gillette Stadium.
I know, cool. It's up in Boston.
Yeah, I like that it's where the men's tournament is too.
I know. I think that's important for both sports, but that'll be fun to get both groups of fans kind of in the same place. And playing in Gillette's got to be cool.
Yeah.
We didn't get the opportunity to, but it looks like it's a very, very cool stadium. At least when was the last time it was played in Gillette? 4 years ago?
Oh,
no,
that'd be longer than that.
That'd be longer than that, like 8.
Yeah, because it wasn't when we were in college.
It wasn't when we were there, yeah. So probably 8 to 10 years, I guess. I don't know. I'd have to look at that. But yeah, so the committee, I also love knowing who's on the committees. So if anyone has the insight.
I do. I can find out because I'm a coach.
Megan. I love it. Okay.
It's so funny. I get the emails. It's like, vote for player of the week. Vote for this, like from IWLCA and stuff. I
Do you vote?
love seeing the... No, I delete. I don't even... Yeah, I just delete it.
Megan. Give the players some love.
I don't even know if it's actually asking for my vote. I've honestly never really opened it.
That's fair enough. But yeah, that's a really exciting stuff as the end of the season kind of comes upon us here. A quick fact that I want to bring up. So our other game that we didn't talk about that was in our picks last week was Army Colgate. The final score of that game was 17-16 Army. Meg and I both picked Army for this one, but what a game for Colgate. I mean, this Army team's been fantastic all season long. They're 13-2 and 8-1 in their conference, which is, I absolutely love that for them. I love that program, love that head coach. And then Bridget Duffy, who, if you're unfamiliar with, you should familiarize yourself with her. She is a fantastic player, dual sport athlete. She had 11 points against Colgate. She had 9 goals, 2 assists. She's picking up ground balls. She's causing turnovers. She was the absolute drive behind this Army team. But you got to give credit where credit's due to Colgate. They had a really, really big second quarter. They had 7 goals in that quarter compared to Army's 3. It was very, very back and forth. I think for Army, the piece that set them apart was their first quarter. It was 6-1, and they kind of pushed through there. But Colgate really caught up in that second, and it was kind of back and forth battle till the end. Army ends up coming out on top. But what a game. Colgate is also kind of, they've been having some good wins towards the end of their season as well. They're 9-7, 5-4 in their conference. Not sure how that'll play out in the long run, but they did have a good end of their season as they moved into post.
Yeah, that's a good win for Colgate.
Nope, Army.
I mean Army, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but
Army is sick.
Yeah, so yeah, watch out for the Patriot League people. We've got Loyola, Chase Boyle. She also just set a record at Loyola. She now has all-time scorer at Loyola. Congratulations to her. Very fantastic, quite an award. You got Army in there. At least for those two, those are probably like the top front runners of that conference, in my opinion. But
yeah.
And then kind of looking ahead for this week, we're really looking towards the end of the week, kind of looking towards Thursday. We've got the CAA kind of kicking off. Ivies are going.
Who do you think's gonna win that?
The Ivy?
Yeah.
My head says Princeton, but my heart says Penn.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But Princeton's at home field advantage.
Yeah. Remember we played there? It was so hot.
It was like the weirdest weather there. It was really rainy and gross. Then it was gorgeous out. And then I was really sweating.
Yeah. My head says Princeton. My heart doesn't. I don't know. Not my heart, but
your heart has no opinion.
Yeah, no. Because my heart wants to say Penn, because obviously I want Savannah to win, but I just don't think they will.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Princeton, home field. I'm going to go maybe with them. I guess you guys will have to wait and see on our weekly picks what I'm going to choose. But, and then Army Navy, they play at 7 p.m. That'll be a good lineup as well. And then USF, they play East Carolina, University of South Florida, ECU. I think that'll be a good game. And then looking at Friday, Princeton plays Brown, Yale plays Penn. That'll also be a good matchup. I'm curious to see if this Yale team actually can pull it through.
What, they beat Penn in like 4 overtime or something, didn't they?
Don't sleep on Fallon Vaughn, people.
Yeah. But is that a wrap?
But yeah, we've got an exciting lineup of games towards the end of the week to watch out for. Make sure you tune in to some fun postseason play, see who's going to qualify for the NCAA tournament automatically. And then do not forget to tune in on Sunday if you're nosy and want to know where everybody else is going to be bracketed and who's going to end up hosting.
Cool
Beans, guys. Tune in this weekend, tune in on Sunday, and then tune in here next week as we go through who qualified.
A few episodes left.
I know. Who qualified, who's playing next, who's playing where, and any upsets or shockers that might come from Sunday. So tune in then, and we will see you guys next week.
Yes, selection show Sunday. Tune in, and it's my birthday. And
happy birthday, Meg.
See you guys next week.